Of Newmarket deliberative session, and our first order of business, as always, is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So for those of you, and it looks like many of you, if not all of you, the same moderator's rules of procedures that apply to the town meeting apply to this meeting. And I want to emphasize again that the rules and the process that we follow essentially is up to you, the voters. I'm just here to maintain order and try to keep us moving. And the voters can override or set up their own rules if they choose to do so. Override any decisions I may make. In the meantime, barring any objection, we're going to follow the rules of procedure that have been passed out. So as was the case with the town warrant, the first article is for the choose school district officers for the coming year. That is going to go on the ballot as presented, and all these warrant articles will go on the ballot as presented unless there are amendments on the floor.
And there's one candidate for each office that are listed up there.
Yeah, and there is one candidate for each office, including my office, which is school district moderator, school district clerk, school district treasurer, and one school board member for a 3-year term. So we're going to, are we doing the video or?
Nope.
Nope, okay.
Keep going.
So warrant article number 2. The average cost per pupil for the preceding year as calculated in accordance with RSA 189.75, Roman numeral 1A, is $24,106. ELA proficiency 67%, math proficiency 51%, science proficiency 48%. Shall the Newmarket School District vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amounts set forth on the budget, posted with the warrant, or as amended by vote of the first session, for the purposes set forth therein, totaling $30,547,370. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $30,471,845, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Newmarket School District or by law, or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, Roman numerals 10 and 16, to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only, majority ballot vote required, recommended unanimously by the school board and the budget committee. And what I'm going to do with the meeting's permission is have Mr. Allen step forward and provide some explanation and context for the budget, and then we'll open the floor for discussion, questions, and amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I did want to start with something that is new on the ballot this year. And it is, I'm going to just be honest with you, it's kind of awkward to have that statement before the operating budget, but it's prescribed by a new state law that went into effect in 2024, and this is the first budget cycle that we're required to report it. And we're not allowed on the ballot to give any context to it, so I did want to take a minute to provide that context. I'm referring to the number, cost per pupil, and the state proficiency results. The slide you have in front of you right now is giving you an idea of where the Newmarket schools stand compared to state average on the 3 areas that are reported. You'll see ELA proficiency, we're 67%, the state average is 55, so we're significantly above state average. Math proficiency is 51, state average is 42, so we're significantly above state average. Science proficiency is 48. We are 48, state is 38, so we're 10%. So I think it's important to keep that context. This gives you the 3-year context of that. We are consistently performing above state average in all of those areas. This slide gives you a comparison of where we stack up against school districts around us in the area of reading. I know Patty Wands enjoys me pointing out that we're ahead of Exeter because that's her former district. We're going to beat Oyster River one of these days. And then this is our math proficiency as well. We're roughly in the same ballpark. The other thing I wanted to take a minute to talk about is cost per pupil, just because that is a metric people look at when they're trying to judge the efficiency of a school budget, and I think it is a valid measure, but if you look at it with no context around it, it can be misleading. So our current cost per pupil for the school year that ended 24-25 was $24,106. You can see compared to the state average of $22,699, we are above the state average. One of the things that Lonnie pointed out earlier in regard to the tax differential or distribution in the town, we have a bond that is fairly impactful. We pay $2.1 million every year in a bond payment. So if you were to remove that from Newmarket's cost per pupil, we are actually below state average. And more importantly, over the last 3 years, we have been moving closer and closer to state average by making efficiency adjustments and staffing adjustments. So over the last 3 years, the state per pupil cost has gone up at a rate of 5.5, while Newmarket has been 3.3 over that same time period. So I think it's really important that people understand we are aware of the impact of the school budget. When Mr. Fournier pointed out the 72% cost, we know that, and we know how impactful it is, and we're doing everything we can to be as efficient as possible. So I just wanted to highlight that for you. I would like to say it is not necessarily solid logic to remove bond cost, because the reality is we do have a bond. But one of the things I think is important to realize is that Newmarket took on bond debt when the state had a moratorium on school financing. And that is, we were committed to it, we made a decision, but we live with that impact every year. Continuing, Mr. Moderator, do we want to, I'd be happy, I'm guessing you have a comment on this slide. I'm happy to allow him if you will entertain that.
Well, I will.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Cahill.
Yes, Michael Cahill, Ash Swamp Road. Two things. On the proficiency, it would appear that all the children are above average. Right. And that, as you stated, we have a large expenditure annually until 2046, did you say?
2046, yes.
And it's larger because the state isn't funding school building aid.
Correct.
We need to do something, don't we?
I would agree, and I hear there are people in the legislature working on that.
And there are people working against it.
Exactly.
Thank
you. Thank you for your efforts on that. Okay, so diving into the actual operating budget, whenever we begin the budget process, we have goals that we work from. We started with looking at the appropriation, like what level of appropriation are we looking to try to come in at? The board set a 4% goal there. We wanted to make sure to support all of our ongoing school improvement efforts. Both of our schools have growth plans targeting things like student performance and so forth. And we wanted to make sure the funding was there to keep doing the good work that's happening there. We have developed a multi-year capital improvement plan to make sure we're able to keep the great facilities we have great for the years to come. So that's something we wanted to make sure to fund. We also want to make sure that we're able to attract and keep high-quality employees, which we are very blessed that we have really great employees in this district. We want to make sure we can continue to do that, so we've made a commitment to trying to keep our salaries competitive with our surrounding communities. We also have, since the pandemic in particular, there's been an increased need to focus on student behavioral and mental health, and we've done a lot of work on that. I want to make sure that we're able to continue to do that. We're seeking out grant funding and so forth, so there's a lot going on there. And then ultimately, we always remind ourselves, as we said, school district is 72% of the tax rate. We need to be responsible with Newmarket's money. It's not our money, it's your money, and we want to make sure we're proposing things that are reasonable, and so we are very cognizant of that. This slide is sort of cuts to the chase. This is the entire budget. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, you see the proposed budget is a 4.35% increase over the past year. That's $1,272,979. You'll see that there is a number that is, oh, I highlighted it, but it actually blocked it out. That's not good. That number that's on your handouts, I think you can read it. The number that's blocked out, it's the health insurance contribution. It's in yellow on the slide, $704,000. That's how much we needed to increase health insurance budgeting because of just dramatic changes in the health insurance market in the state. If you haven't been following, most schools and municipalities benefit from a thing called pooled health insurance. And last year, one of the main entities that does that went out of business due to some changes in regulations at the state level, which was very impactful on the market. We then were put in a position where there really was only one game in town for us to get our insurance, and that turned out to be school care. And to be honest, that is going up to the tune of 20%. So that $704,000, if you look at the $1,279,000 total increase, most of that is absorbing an inordinate health insurance cost. I'd love to stand here and tell you I think that's a one-time thing, but sadly health insurance is just a very expensive thing, and until this country and this state figures out how they want to do it, we're going to continue to have to absorb significant costs, because that is part of your employee costs. What you will see at the bottom of that slide, you'll see operationally we have reduced costs by 1.54%. And that we've done a lot of efficiency efforts, a lot of things that have actively reduced costs, including some of the great work done by our Student Services Department to make sure that we can educate our kids as much as possible in district, so we're not having to send kids to out-of-district placements. This slide is a pie graph kind of giving you that indication of how we're spending the money. You can see, 69–70% of that is employee costs, 24% is operations, and debt service is 7.3%. And that's that bond debt that we start every year with. You start with $2.1 million and then you build from there. This gives you a historical context on budgets over the last 6 years. You can see typically our budgets go up somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 to 5%. You'll see last year we had an increase of 1.97, but that was the teacher contract that you voted on and approved. Thank you very much. A much needed increase in teacher salary. But that was not included in that 1.97 number. When you add the cost of the contract in, last year's total increase was 4.4%. So it's very much in line, but we knew that was going to be a cost we needed to absorb, and so we planned our budget with that in mind. Obviously, this year we absorbed the new cost of the teacher contract, and so you now have the 4.35. And again, as I said, the health insurance cost is pretty dramatic as well. It's always helpful for me to stop and talk about state revenues. One of the things that we talk about here is appropriations. And as was pointed out in this morning's meeting, the tax rate doesn't get set until November, December. So all we can talk about here is what do we want to be able to spend? So how does this impact the tax rate? And I think that's where most voters are concerned. And it is a bit of a frustrating thing for us as a district to have very few levers we can pull to impact the tax rate. Clearly, as Steve pointed out, 72% of total is the school district, but 6% of that 72 is what is called the statewide education property tax. That's the blue bar at the bottom of this graph. Basically what it is the state says, hey, Newmarket, give us $1.8 million. Thank you. Okay, here, Newmarket, here's $1.8 million back. It doesn't effectively do anything other than it allows the box to be checked that, hey, the state is contributing. But the truth of the matter is that's money coming out of your pockets. It's real. The aid that is impactful on the tax rate is what is called state grant aid, or adequacy aid is often how it's referred. And you can see over the last 6 years, for the most part, that has been flat. It has been this, we get somewhere around $3 million. That's less than 10% of our total operating costs. And that has been the same for all 6 years. Go out and try to buy something today at 2021 prices, and you can't do that. So the buying power goes down. So what that means to the taxpayer is an increasing part of the school operating budget is falling to local taxpayers. And I just want to acknowledge that that is what's happening, and that's why we are so careful to make sure we're only asking for what we need. What's new in this budget? Really only one major thing. We had 2.4 unfilled positions this year that we are repurposing to address some ongoing program improvement efforts around student mental health. We recognize at the elementary level, we have one counselor and 486 kids. So we believe that we need 2 actual regular school counselors. And we also have been working very hard to develop a MTSSB, multi-tiered system of support for behavioral health supports. But what we lack is somebody to coordinate that effort across the district. And with some creative efforts around grant funding and so forth, we've been able to do that. And so we're repurposing 2.4 positions to those 2 positions, and then basically we're reducing overall staffing by 0.4. So in the end, total staffing is going down by 0.4. These were vacant positions that we are now repurposing. But again, it's to do that. The last thing I want to say is the default budget. One of the things I hope people are noticing, in the last 2 years, the default budget has been almost the same thing as the proposed budget. Last year, there was a $51,000 difference, and this year there's a $75,000 difference. So what that means is if you vote no on the budget, the default budget is what would take hold. And I want to just take a minute to explain why that is. It's because we are budgeting so tightly, and we are actively trying to make sure that we're only asking for what we need. Most of the costs that go into the default budget are contractual obligations. I mean, we have to pay our bus contract, we have to pay our salaries, we have to pay benefits. So there really isn't a lot of wiggle room there. So when you say, what are you proposing? We're proposing a very lean budget. So with that, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Any questions, comments, amendments with respect to warrant article number 2? Seeing none, warrant article 2 will proceed to the ballot as presented. Warrant article number 3. Shall the district vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Newmarket School Board and the Newmarket Support Staff Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing levels over those paid in the prior fiscal year, 2026 to 2027, $134,043, 2027 to 2028, $92,135, 2028 to 2029, $76,155, 2029 to 2030, $69,675, and further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $134,043 for the upcoming fiscal year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreements over those that will be paid at current staffing levels. The estimated tax impact of this article is 8 cents. Majority vote required, unanimously recommended by the school board and the budget committee. And just as a reminder, this is the support staff contract, not the teacher contract that was last year. So, Mr. Allen.
So as I said, we have had an ongoing plan to make sure the salaries and benefits being paid to Newmarket people are competitive with our surrounding areas. One of the challenges we have faced, and many districts face, is getting enough qualified paraeducators and tutors to work in our districts. We have struggled with that for the entire time I've been here. One of the things we've attempted to do is to make sure that the salaries and what we're paying people is competitive with all of our surrounding communities. And we are now at a point where people can choose to work in Newmarket because it's a rate that's comparable. They're not going to say, gee, I've got an offer in Portsmouth, I'm not going to take the one in Newmarket because we're not paying as much. So we have made adjustments. This contract is trying to continue to stay competitive. So basically what the new contract is, it's a 4-year deal. The agreement with the teachers was also a 4-year deal, and it was beneficial to us to spread the costs out over more years, but it also allowed us, because the teacher contract was 4 and the paras were, we will not be negotiating both contracts in the same year. So it keeps them in a different cycle. Basically what it does, it gives a COLA of 4% each year for the next 4 years. It increases longevity by 25 cents an hour. It does introduce a differential pay for advanced training. So paras who choose to get para certification or an associate's degree or a various degree. One of the things we're realizing more and more is the pipeline to get good teachers is actually potentially the para world. And so if we can get paras that have a vision of themselves in education and can train them up, it can be very beneficial to us. So our hope is to do that. We increased the number of holidays that paras get. Basically what we did was we brought in line with what we do for all of our other school year employees. So basically paras were being given fewer vacation days than our office staffs and so forth. So we brought them in line with that over the course of the contract. It also, one of the things we want to do is to incentivize people to come to work, go figure. So we want to make it so that people don't maximize the use of their paid time off, and there's an incentive to hang on to it. And so one of the things we've done is built in, when people retire, they can cash in up to $60 a day for up to 50 days. So when they leave, they can access that as a benefit. And it incentivizes keeping some sick time and getting people to come to work. We've added PD reimbursements, which didn't exist before. Paras were basically on their own for that, so this will allow them to make choices. And actually, for us, we see it as a recruiting opportunity to say, hey, come to Newmarket, we'll train you up and as an educator. And then the other big thing, which, as I mentioned, health insurance is brutal, and they did agree to changing health care plans and adopting what is it's called School Care 2.0, and they accepted that, which I don't want to say it was a savings to the district, but it was less more than we would have paid had they not accepted that. So that's what the contract entails.
This being a collective bargaining item, it's not subject to amendment, but if there are questions or comments. Ms. Lazarus, good morning again.
Good morning, Joanne Lazarus, 170 Exeter Road. I just am speaking up in full support of this CBA. Many of our paras have for years been working just for insurance. They barely get a paycheck. They're paying for their health insurance. So to see the Newmarket School District recognizing their valuable work they do and helping them put money in their pocket so they can do things like buy food is fabulous. So thank you for your work on this, and I really hope that everyone supports this contract. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further comment, question on warrant article number 3? Seeing none, Article 3 will proceed to the ballot as presented. Warrant article number 4, I'm not sure this requires extended discussion, is shall the district, if Article 3 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call one special meeting at its option to address Article 3 cost items only. Majority vote required. I think that's fairly self-explanatory, but if there's any questions or comments, the floor is open. Seeing none, Article 4 will proceed to the ballot as presented. Warrant article number 5. Shall the district vote to raise and appropriate $150,000 to be added to the Insurance and Benefits Expendable Trust Fund previously established for the purpose of unanticipated insurance and employee benefits expenses, and further, to authorize the use of this amount from the June 30th fund balance available for transfer on July 1st. No amount to be raised by taxation, majority vote required, recommended unanimously by the school board and the budget committee. Mr. Allen, you want to briefly explain what's going on here?
Yeah, so theme here, health insurance is expensive. We did, this year, our health care provider, school care, we had what's called an additional assessment What that means is the utilization of insurance for the 24-25 year that ended was much higher than they had projected, so it depleted the reserve funds that the school care had. Effectively, what they did was they passed about $30 million in healthcare costs on to all of the pooled insurance entities, and Newmarket was one of the 90 groups that received a bill for an additional assessment on health insurance. To us, it was $417,961. You notice I didn't even have to look at the slide. That number's burned in my head. It's like, wow. So one of the parts of paying that was to deplete our existing benefits fund. And so this article is asking for $150,000 to replenish that fund so that in the event that we have another unexpected health care cost in the next year, there'll be something there to fall back on. The intent of it is to take it from the year-end fund balance, so it would not have a tax impact. It would just simply be a transfer at the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, amendments with respect to Article 5? Seeing none, Article 5 will proceed to the ballot as presented. Article 6, shall the district vote to raise and appropriate $100,000 to be added to the School Improvement Capital Reserve Fund, previously established, for the purpose of improving, expanding, maintaining, renovating, furnishing, and equipping school buildings. The school board recommends this appropriation unanimously, as does the Budget Committee. And there's a note, this recommendation is in accordance with the Newmarket School District Capital Improvement Plan for 2025 through 2043, approved by the school board on August 1st, 2024. The estimated tax impact of this article is 6 cents. And I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but if there's questions or comments, unless you feel a burning
I'm going to
need.
speak to it because this is a slightly different strategy than we've used before. Yeah, just what we have attempted to do with the capital reserve, capital improvement plan, is to fund it out of the year-end fund balance. But as I have said, health insurance has turned out to be a much bigger impact. And so in order to pay the assessment, we had to get creative with some of our financing strategies. And the board determined that doing this as an appropriation versus a year-end fund balance transfer made more sense. Yes, we acknowledge that it might cause people to say, let's not do it this year. We hope people will support it because we do think it's an important thing. We did lower the amount in the past. It's been $200,000. We lowered it to $100,000. One of the things to keep in mind is that we have, thankfully, the trustees of the trust funds have done some really bang-up work over the last couple of years of reinvesting our funds. So we actually have made more money on our trust funds in the last couple of years than we expected. For example, 2 years ago, we made $56,000 just in interest. In previous years, we were making literally single-digit thousands of dollars on it, so it's a big change. This past year, we made over $40,000. So my point is there's more in the fund than when we built the plan. So while we don't think $100,000 every year is a sustainable plan, for this 1 year, we recommend the $100,000. And this summer, you will see work being done on the roof at the high school. There's multiple sections of roof to the tune of $169,000 that we'll be doing, and it will use this fund.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Questions, comments, amendments on warrant article number 6? Seeing none, Article 6 will proceed to the ballot as presented. Warrant Article 7. Are you in favor of changing the terms of the school moderator, school district clerk, and school district treasurer from 1 year to 2 years, beginning with the terms of the school moderator, school district clerk, and school district treasurer to be elected at next year's regular school district meeting? No amount to be raised by taxation, majority vote required, unanimously recommended by the school board, very much at the request of the school district moderator for the past 10 years.
We listen.
The town moderator term is 2 years. The school district moderator term has been 1 year, and it's a hassle. So, anyway, any questions, comments on warrant article number 7? It's the school district moderator, it's not me. And I might not get reelected, so who knows? Seeing none, warrant article 7 will proceed to the ballot as presented. If there's no other business to come before the meeting, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Nazaro makes a motion to adjourn. Mr. Cahill seconds it. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Meeting is adjourned. We'll see you on March 10th at the polling place.